Blue blazer, orange president, go! Hey, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps, where we talk about everything political under the sun, from dog catcher all the way up, even to the new pope that might be coming up in the next few days. Who knows who will it be? We shall wait. When we see the white smoke come out of the smokestack, whatever that's called, we'll find out when that happens. So let's welcome all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. He's a loquacious, eloquent, and conservative. Let's welcome Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome.
How do everybody in the chat? How you doing, Art?
I'm doing pretty good. Just been busy at work. So things are going pretty good. So we had some rain this morning, cleared up, and now it's getting cloudy again, threatening to rain again. So
yeah, we had rain for about all weekend, and it seemed like most of this week it was we'd been under flash flood warning for 3 days, because we were
oh my,
we had a lot of rain. We got a lot of rain, and but today I get up and it's sunshiny and it's really nice out, and we're back to rain again tomorrow. 90% chance of thunderstorms. So.
oh boy.
But yeah, we're still getting thunderstorms. A lot of thunder and lightning was still going on last night at 11 o'clock in the evening. So
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
but,
Just want to let everybody know Charles is running a little late. He's having some internet issues. So he will join us a little later. So let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We've got the Pro Cut, which I'm trying to remember who that is. I don't have Dominic here.
yeah,
We got Brian, Waypoint New England, TJ Giggles
Brian.
FB,
Okay.
and that is about it that I could see in the chat. So that's what's going on. So yesterday we hit the milestone in the Trump administration.
100 days.
100 days. He's done more in 100 days than Biden did in 4 years. I mean,
He has. He really has. He's been, and for the most part, he's been somewhat. He's been pretty successful with everything he's done.
right,
And the thing is he's, he made campaign promises, and
right.
that's what that first 100 days was all about. Fulfilling those campaign promises. And he did what he said he was going to do. He was warning of tariffs before he was elected. And
Right.
I think those that voted for him understood that,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that are fussing and fuming are, usually are, they're they're not supportive of the conservative movement, to say the
Right.
least. But
Mm-hmm.
I did hear today that China is not adverse to starting talks with the United States about the tariffs.
Good. Good.
That came from not just Xi Jinping, but from the Chinese government, and it's so they've because it looked like at some point Xi Jinping might be out, or
Oh,
headed out. They were
oh,
talking about, yeah, they said the way things were going right now, it looked like he may be on his way out. But
oh.
now the it was probably just a lot of fussing and fighting, trying to decide how they were going to deal with Trump. And in the end, it looks like at this point they're at least willing to negotiate, which is something that
Right.
3 weeks ago they didn't want to do. But they need
Mhm.
they need us.
Right. They do.
We as a it sounds egotistical, but we uh, as Americans are one of the largest consumers of Chinese products.
Right. Right. And also, the communists, they still have to worry about, hey, they got 1 billion plus people. Do you think the military could, I don't know, they could probably do away with a lot of them, but that would be a huge feat. They got to keep those people happy enough.
Yeah,
They're
they did.
not going to have an uprising.
But you still got some hardliners in there that want to bring back the days of Mao,
Right.
and
Hmm.
uh, so, but there again, Mao also met with the president of the United States
Yes.
and
That's right.
started
With
some of the opening the very slim openings of opening eventual trade with communist China.
right, right. Now, didn't Nixon? I think he mainly met with Cho and Lai. I think that's who he was meeting with. But
Well,
uh,
he did meet with Nixon. Did meet with Mao.
Mao, okay,
Yeah, he went to well, uh, he met with him I think once on because Nixon went to China. If I'm not mistaken, he went to China, and that's when he met Mao.
okay.
You know,
When he went there back in the during
'68.
his first term, yeah. Mhm. And we got Ronnie, God bless America. We got Mark R. White and Grant is here.
Yeah,
Oh,
Grant's here. Yeah, Ronnie is here. Yeah, it's like, why is it that they can buy so much of our land, uh, but yet we can't buy America. Yeah, own in China. It's kind of backwards, and it is. And I think that's some of the things that Trump's trying to fix is the ownership. That's sort of what he did down in central or down in Panama.
yeah. Hmm.
He went down there or sent his people down there and basically pushed the Chinese out of those deals. And
Right.
that
Hmm.
probably hurt China too, because that meant they're they're starting to have to pay for their ships to go through,
Right.
and that's going to increase the cost. And I'll bet you anything that one of those deals that the Trump administration made was that China's going to pay more to bring their goods
Hmm.
to be unburdened by what has been. Oh
Hmm.
yeah, it does sound familiar.
Yeah.
Very good, Ronnie. Yeah, I'd forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep. And in the Philippines, foreigners can't own land.
They can't
However,
in Mexico.
yeah, they can own condominiums. But if you're married to a Filipina, you can own property, but it can't be in unless you become a Filipino citizen, and that takes
Yeah,
about
I'm not even sure that this I think the spouse that is a natural
yeah. Hmm.
uh
It's called a ballot
born
buy-in. relationship.
natural born citizen there.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think they own the land. Now you can own what's on top of the land, but when it comes
Right.
down to it, that land belongs to the
Mhm.
Filipinos that
Yeah.
live there.
Now, if you're married to a Filipina and you set up a contract, it's sort of like a prenuptial. But
Right.
if the property is to be, distributed after the dissolution, but
Yeah.
they can only get an annulment. They don't have divorce there
Right.
yet.
Right.
They're still working on it.
Yeah.
But
And oh, I was going to say something else and I forgot what it
they could
was.
be, well, you could be separated, and then you could divide the assets and you could
Oh, that's
have,
what it was. A lot of the land belongs to the family.
yeah. Hmm.
And so it's even, they may own a 1/10 of the whole property, you
Right.
know,
Hmm.
and because that's kind of like with Greg and his hotel down there, his resort down there. It's owned by his wife and her family, and a couple years ago they had an uncle that got killed by a hit and run driver,
Oh,
and oh yeah, and then they had to take and add his property in to the family pot, so to
uh,
speak, because he still had and he apparently didn't have any heirs, any kids that they had to divide it. So it's
a
sort of like
trust.
well, it's like a tontine, which is
Oh, okay.
a type of where the lone survivor gets it all. you know. But while there's several survivors, they can't sell it or do anything with
Mm.
it. And that seems to be sort of how property is, in my understanding. And
Mhm.
I've never been there, but also,
Right. If you mean someone else. Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
It's true in the Philippines. You can't go to jail and be thrown out of the country. Annulled, and you sort of talked about it on Bill's show the other day about the what happens to the kids if you have kids, and then you have,
right,
well,
right, yeah. And that was
well,
the kids are not responsible are not to be held. In other words, they're still legitimate, and
yeah,
that
right.
was where I had missed some of it at one time. It used to be that way in the Catholic Church,
Hmm.
but like Ted Kennedy. That's why, and I think he stayed married until, uh, even though he had. And a lot of Catholics do that. They can go in and get forgiven for
Dispensation.
no for they can be forgiven for
Oh,
adultery,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
adultery, but they can't be forgiven for a divorce.
Right. Hmm.
You know, now they
uh
can be given a dispensation under
yes.
certain circumstances, like in
Right.
mine and Judy's case, we were given a dispensation because there was no way of contacting the former spouses
Hmm.
at the time. So,
Ronnie has a question. Yeah. We kind of gone off on a tangent, and I'm trying to get back to Trump's 100 days.
yeah,
Getting
sorry.
back to that. Well, how about deportations? Uh, Border crossings have dropped to a trickle now,
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
and dangerous gangs are being shipped back to countries of origin.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're having some judges that are causing
Yeah,
some problems, and it's mainly the
procedure,
do what?
procedural.
Yeah, it's mainly procedural, like
Yeah,
the guy that what do they call him, the
Maryland
Michigan
dad.
Maryland guy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Democrats just they keep backing the wrong horse,
yeah, hmm
and they
yeah.
just keep doing it.
And these are criminals that have injured or killed people.
Well, yeah, and they're here illegally anyways, you know.
Yeah, they're here illegally, and I liked who was it? Gutfeld made a really good point yesterday, where he said, "Well, why don't we just give them the piece of paper saying your court date is on this date? Please be sure to." That's all they have to do, and I'm like, going,
Yeah.
wow, how brilliant. Yeah, they could do that. And you think they'll show up? I don't think so. I mean, if they manage to get out of
I will, Mark.
prison,
Yeah.
uh, and get back here, I don't,
Well,
and it's
the
not
thing
likely
is
they're
they're
going to
talking
try.
about each one of them should have their day in court. Well,
Right.
it's real simple. The day that they're caught,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a court system set up through immigration,
Right.
and they can take in, if they brought in 300, if they brought in 300 people that day, they arraign them all and they take them and they prosecute them right there, or they write the
Right.
order of deportation for all of them.
Right. Mm.
And
Yeah. Wonder why they didn't do that for death penalty cases. That would
well,
speed up the process too.
yeah, but you got to remember, death penalty is a it's a capital crime and it's related to state and federal laws,
Right.
and it's usually committed by a citizen, or if they're not a citizen, they're held here and they're convicted. But up to that point, these are not U.S. citizens, and
Mm.
thus do not afford the rights of the Constitution. They don't.
Right.
That's not part of it. Our
Uh-huh.
Constitution is a great thing, and they're trying to make it sound like it's the Ten Commandments or it's the.
Right.
But it's not. It's
It's
the
for
laws, rules,
American
and
citizens.
regulations for the U.S. for the citizens of the United States.
Right.
And there are proper procedures on how to become a citizen. These
Yep.
are wrong. They do not have to be given the privileges. And somewhere along the line, I guess during all the time of Obama, and although he deported far more than Trump ever did,
Yeah.
they've given over to this idea that they're not being given their constitutional rights. They don't
No.
have any.
Yeah.
The
That's right.
Constitution protects the citizens of the United States, not the Mexicans, the Honduras, the Sandinistas, anybody that's sneaking across the border, the Chinese, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese, the
Mm-hmm.
Pakistanis, the Afghanis. None of those are afforded the rights of a U.S. citizen.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know,
And isn't it funny that I don't know? I remember years ago, way back, when some government snatched a little boy away from his
is
relatives in Miami and
and
sent him,
shipped him back to Cuba.
and they
That was
had
Bill
no
Clinton. Good old,
problem with that.
yeah, yeah, good old Bill.
Imagine that. Hmm.
Because his father had stayed behind. His mother had died on the way over. His
Right.
family from his wife's family took him in, and then Janet Reno and her thugs went in there and snatched him up and sent him back to Cuba.
Right. Hmm.
Which and I don't understand why we would send somebody back to a communist country, but
Right.
that
Hmm.
shows how the that shows how liberals think, you know.
Right. Hmm.
But it's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
that's right. Pro cut. I'm trying to think. Is your name John oh, is it Nick? I think
yeah, and
it's
I
Nick.
don't think I have his name on my list. If I do,
Yeah,
I apologize to you if I don't because I don't unfortunately
yeah,
remember. I recognize who you are. You've
Yeah.
obviously been here.
John, he said. John.
John.
All right. Well,
John
we'll
J.
call you
Okay.
John from now on.
Yeah.
We got so
That will
many.
probably stick with both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, John's. We got Steve's, and we got Mark's and Mike's,
Yeah.
and oh, we got a couple Joel's too. Yeah,
Yeah. We do. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be Skyfly Network, and the
Right.
other one is JSK Enterprise. Yeah.
Right. I met Skyfly Joel down there. He was a really nice guy. We'd sit outside and smoke cigarettes and visit and carry on.
Ah, okay. He said he's
You know,
been busy and not on in a
in a
while. Oh,
while. Yeah, that's
well,
what I was
welcome
thinking. I
back.
recognized the name, but I couldn't. I
Yeah,
couldn't. I recognized Pro Cut, but I couldn't put it.
yeah.
Go on with your next point. I'll be listening. I got to run in and get that idiot dog off the bed. She got herself up
Okay.
there.
Alrighty. Well, we got that. We talked about tariffs and how well, there was a big shakeup in the market. The market took a big loss, and wow, lo and behold, it recovered. I lost 10K in my 401k, and was I in a panic? No, not really. I was disappointed, but you know what? I've been through ups and downs before. I've been with one company for almost 30 years, and now I'm with a new company, and yeah, uh, yeah, I bounced back. I recovered everything I lost. So I'm like
Good, good,
back
good,
to
good.
square one, and I think it's going to keep on going. And uh, speaking of the economy, inflation has really come down. Prices have come down, but here in Colorado, I've noticed this, big swings in gas prices. The one day it's up 30 cents, and next week it's down 30 cents. And I'm like going, what the hell? Everybody else, I've heard of some
Hey,
places they're,
Bill.
oh, Bill's here. Great. Gas is down, was down to 220 something, almost 230 a gallon. I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Holy shit, that's cheaper in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's a
I
first.
think that was in Tennessee somewhere. And
Oh, okay. Thought you were saying in Colorado is that cheap.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
We're
Uh,
running we're running between 250 and 265. It kind of bounces
right.
back and forth, you know.
Well,
But
we've
260
been bouncing
265 is
around
the highest.
between 350 and 289. And for a while there, I've been getting gas for 255, 257, 259, and then all of a sudden it just skyrocketed. And I said, where the hell is the cheap gas? I
Yeah.
mean, we got a few stations that are at 329 a gallon. And I'm like, oh, holy shit. Uh, oh, yeah, that's right.
246 at
46
Bucky's
at Bucky's. Yeah.
in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Sevierville, Tennessee.
Sevierville. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right down the road from Hooterville. Yeah.
Actually, I think Hooterville was where was Hooterville?
I don't know. I know it
Where
was
did where did where did
the Douglases were originally from New York City.
well, I knew where they were
Bought
from.
that
That's what
farm. I'm
which
guessing
was
it
in
would
Hooterville.
be Pennsylvania or Western New York, maybe
No,
Virginia.
they were more towards the south or central, you know, because
Ah,
because the Beverly Hillbillies actually visited there once, uh,
no, okay.
and they used to call Sam Drucker to pass on a message. So
Mm,
it might have been Arkansas because
yeah,
that's where the uh, That's where the Clampetts were from, was Arkansas.
Okay.
The
Okay.
not the Appalachians, but the what the hell?
Oh, G. Okay. Oh, you might be right. That might
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or Leonard.
Leonard,
Leonard.
Leonard.
Yeah. Yeah, Leo.
He's
All right.
Leonard unless he has an O on it. Then he's Leonardo.
Uh-huh.
So with just an N, it's just Leonard. Otherwise, he's Leonardo.
Uh-huh. Let's see. What else has Trump been doing that's been we've let's see, the Middle East is pretty quiet except for Iran is, acting up now and
Well,
then,
the Houthis, and we've been launching rocket or launching missiles at them every day for 49 days straight now.
right?
And uh, uh, the Secretary of Defense said, "We know what you're doing," to Iran. He says, "We know what you're doing. We know who you're supporting, and unless you want something bad to happen, we'll do that in at our time in our own way."
Mm,
So he warned
right.
them that Pete Hesgrith, I can never say his last name, anyways. Uh,
Hegseth.
Secretary Pete,
Yeah. Big Pete.
yeah, Big
Hmm.
Pete, yeah, yeah.
Big Pete.
Uh, he not to be mixed up with Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, that's little Pete. Little
That's
Peter.
Little Pete. Yeah,
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
Petey. Yeah.
Kind of
Anyways,
looks like
Big Pete threatened, and told him, we know what you're doing. We know who you're supporting. And it's getting kind of rough because Iran's really gotten their asses handed to them a lot through all of their, because look at what happened to Hezbollah
uh-huh.
and uh, what's the
Hamas.
Hamas. Thank you.
Right.
Mind went blank with. We've,
Yeah.
they Israel's pretty well kicked their asses.
Oh
We might
yeah.
have, you know,
Uh-huh.
and ISIS, of course, ISIS is, even in Syria, things are, that's
Yeah,
not like
quite.
quieted down there.
Well, now that Assad is out of there, and it sounds like the government there is starting to solidify and
Yeah.
has had kind of a come to Jesus moment where, hey, maybe we ought to calm this shit down. And also, Iran, Israel bombed a lot of their defensive capabilities. I mean, bombed them so badly that they're pretty much blind that they can't see anything coming in.
Yeah, they're really at a disadvantage right now, and the only thing they had going for them was the Houthis, and we just kicked their asses all over the Klondike,
Right. Hmm.
and they've just and we're continuing it,
Hmm.
but in going to that, uh, because we're talking about national security,
Hmm.
Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, is no more.
Oh, what happened?
He was side moded, I guess you would say. He was
Oh,
booted out, and so was his deputy.
oh,
They were asked to step away from that job. He is being put up at for the he's being put forth as the candidate for the United Nations, a U.S. ambassador to the United
oh, okay,
Nations. But
okay.
they booted him out, and he'd already fired like 5 or 6 of his upper echelon, but the lower down they were. But today they took him out, and they took out his uh
His
they
dip.
they said that Trump's got full support of him, fully believes in him, but he's done what they asked him to do, but it's to that point now that he's not quite the fit for that. So our
Uh,
national security advisor consists of the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State. They're sort of doing it as, picking up
oh,
the slack until they can
uh,
nominate another secretary.
uh,
But yeah, he was put out today,
okay,
uh,
okay.
and it has probably everything to do with Signalgate. So
Oh,
He'd already
yes.
gotten rid of 5 or 6 of his lower echelon people that were they were
Right.
in the upper echelon of the whole layout, but they were lower down than say but today the deputy got sacked as well. So
Okay.
they yeah, they took him
Yeah.
out today.
Well, the Democrats were really going after Pete Hegseth or
Yes,
Big Pete,
Big
but
Pete, yeah.
and they can't seem to get rid of that guy. So they
Yeah, and well, Waltz they're blaming Pete for that for the signal gate. But
right.
Waltz had come forward right away and said, "No, it's on me. It came through me."
Ah,
And it was his advisors, one of his deputies or under deputies was the one who set it up and thus sent it
mm,
out. And uh so yeah, because they uh who was it I heard today? Was it I think it was JD Vance was talking about it. No,
oh,
it was whoever it was that said he was a little concerned about, the kind of message they'd be sending, by bombing the Houthis.
right,
You know,
right,
I think that
hmm
was JD Vance, and
right.
uh, yeah, he was because he did an interview with
Hmm.
on Fox. I can't remember, but
Okay.
but
So
so we don't have a national security advisor right now.
no security advisor.
Yeah.
Uh, yes,
Oh
and
yeah,
Kamala made a speech.
Kamala,
Yeah,
the great elephant speech.
yeah, the great elephant. I haven't heard the whole thing. Heard she made a speech. I kind of
Well,
guessed what she said.
she was talking about and she was talking about how we have to stand up and do the right thing and fight against the injustice of this administration and blah 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 blah. And then she says, how many of you saw that video of the elephants at the uh, San Diego Zoo and when the earthquake happened? Says
Oh, they
these
kind of created a
yeah,
circle.
they circled around the young ones to protect them. It says that's what we've got to do. Be like the elephants.
Yeah, well, who are the elephants? That'd be Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny that
Yeah. And we got Lon Denard. Welcome, welcome, Lon.
you
Uh-huh.
want a refund. Sorry, no refund.
Yeah,
You
that's
may only
right.
have two gimps, but you're getting Gandalf as well. So you got
Yeah.
all my words of wisdom from being, you
Chuck
know,
is running a little late. He's having technical issues, and he said he'd try to make it a little later. So, what else is going on with the? Mm,
mm,
oh yeah, there was somebody we know, old farts, was making a big to do about, oh, Pete Hegseth's phone number was on some Russian spy's phone. I'm like, so what?
hell,
You know,
mine is probably on
could
their
have
phone
been,
numbers too.
it could have been before he became secretary. Well, no, what's his position?
He's just Secretary of Defense.
Secretary of Defense. It could have been when he was still with Fox. A lot of people
Yeah,
probably had his phone number when he was still at Fox. He wasn't,
you're right.
Bob
I'm the Dollar
was,
Tree Gandalf.
yeah, Bob was making, oh, I'm just so nervous about this. I kept thinking, were you nervous about the last 4 fucking years with the guy that didn't know where the hell he was half the time?
How in the hell can you be nervous about a competent government? You don't have to agree with them, but you
Yeah.
shouldn't be nervous about them. I
Hmm.
mean, what he's doing or what they're doing is just, I mean, the recruitment is up by a large number now. They weren't even meeting their quotas of because guys retire, they've got to replace those guys. That means they
Yep.
start at the bottom and then work their way up. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, unfortunately, there's those that just
Yeah.
they
You
drank
gotta
the
have
Kool Aid.
generals that don't dress up like women, and yeah,
Yeah, I got rid of a bunch of those, I think so.
yeah. Ooh,
And
boy.
but yeah, Oh, speaking of Fox News, the Fox and Friends in the morning, Steve Ducey,
Yeah.
he is stepping back. He will.
Oh,
He's moving to Florida,
Florida.
and he will be doing it 3 days a week remotely.
Oh,
He's
okay.
decided that, remember that he brought up that old commercial about 3 o'clock in the morning, the alarm would go off, and it's time to make the donuts.
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
well, apparently, whenever it would wake up his wife, that's what she would say to him. It's time to make the donuts. And he's been doing it for 30 years. So and
Wow.
they showed some pictures of him when he was really young. And you know who he looked like in his younger pictures?
His son,
Peter Ducey. Yeah.
Peter. Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't realize, I never paid attention to their names. I mean, I knew who Peter Ducey was because he was always trashing the Biden administration, but
Yep.
I didn't really watch Fox and Friends that much. And I don't know, it was the other night I was watching Gutfeld and he says, "Well, you never know what the Duceys are up to." And he put the both of them in there. And wait a minute. And
Yep.
that's when I like, well, shit, why didn't and I may have known it and just forgot it.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's and they showed some clips of a young Peter Ducey. We're talking about, you know, 11 or 12 years old. That would cut. Yeah, they'd bring him to this. All of his kids were on TV at one point or another. So,
No.
uh, so
Okay.
yeah.
You got a
But
cool cat.
hey,
Yeah.
cool cat,
Yeah. That'd be Michael.
Michael. Yes, of course we
Ah.
got one down there, and you get what you pay for here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah,
All
but
right.
no, he's stepping back from everyday broadcast. He'll be doing. He always liked doing this stuff out in the field, and that's sort of what he's going to be doing. But
Ah,
they're
good.
moving down to Florida.
Good for him.
So he's not
So
retiring.
now,
He's just changing the way he does things a little
right.
bit.
Now to segue into another topic. So Musk, his job is almost up at
Yeah.
Doge, and everybody's bashing on him. I mean, there there was a guy that he started a construction company, and he's also an immigrant, and he was a big Musk fan. So he named his company Musk Construction. And now he is facing a lot of backlash over that name. And he's starting to lose faith in Musk. Yeah, right. So he's going to change the name of his company, even though it might cost him 20 grand to do that. So he's going to change, and it's like, you know, it's like all these people are just, several years ago, Musk, we love Musk. Oh,
Oh
look at
yeah.
all the things he's doing. He's making electric cars to help the environment and stuff like that. And now, now there's a trend. People are starting to turn in their Teslas. They're,
Which I find ironic because then they're buying like Chevy Tahoes, which are big gas guzzlers.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
or they're getting other electrics like the
Oh,
Prius, and there's a Prius hybrid too. I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, people like Pete Buttigieg will be driving a Prius, you know that.
yeah, it's so special.
Yeah.
Uh,
Special car for a special guy.
Special. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like the little short little bus. Uh, so yeah, so people are bashing on him, and uh, I saw this one video where this woman is saying, "Well, Musk, he wasn't elected," and the commentator says, no, he's part of the executive because he was, he doesn't have to go through confirmation because she made that point.
Well,
Well, he
he's not
doesn't confirm.
he's he's not technically a cabinet member.
That's
He's
true.
he's not a secretary of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have the input. I mean, he doesn't have the authority that a
Right.
secretary does. Like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Education. But as a special appointee, he can go,
Right.
and he only said he was going to do it for up to 6 months. Well, he's finishing up the first phase of what he was going to do, and then he'll be, you know, like he says, it kind of hurts to see the dealerships being hurt by that. He says,
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of stuff that bothers him. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going to go back and start putting time back into his business, which is going to help the economy in the end, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to help the
Yes.
environment if these knobheads quit burning them.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
But
And also, you know what I would? Oh God, this would be so great if he would start a drone business. Call it Dronettes, or you know,
yeah,
I
that
don't
would
know,
be nice.
Tesla.
Uh, I think I, I
I mean,
I saw something about, and I don't know who it was now, but they're trying to put forth a bill, I think, that will allow states to have some authority over the drone, and that it would be okay, and that it's okay to shoot them out of the air.
oh, jeez. I
Yeah,
heard. Yeah, I saw something about that that gives states more authority. No, you
right.
can't, because airspace that's under the federal.
Well, it is, but they can choose to say that doesn't include even those that have a Part 107. That's not the same as having a fixed wing manned aircraft license,
Right. I
and they can just say, hey, this falls under the FCC, or this falls under whoever's in charge of the toy manufacturing company, even though they're damned expensive toys, if you ask me, and I don't think it would
uh,
be right. But if the FCC or FAA wanted to wash their hands of it, they could change that.
yeah.
Just leave it up to the states to make the laws, and we're in some ways we're protected because we do have that FAA support. You
Right.
know,
Hmm.
but if they decide it's too much of a damn headache, well, they're going to get rid of it. They're going to change those laws. Look, they've already done that with, remote ID and
Right.
a lot of the rules that they've. This is something Bill Thomas always said. What did we as recreational flyers ever do to the FAA?
Hmm.
That
Right.
they should take away so many of our rights in flying that we had under what
Mm.
was it, it was Part 33 or whatever that was that
Right.
came out uh, before the current one. So
Hmm.
yeah, we are at the mercy of the FAA, unfortunately, and all they got to do
Right.
is say we're going to take that out from under the protection of the FAA and leave
Hmm.
it to the Consumer Protection Agency,
Right. Ugh.
and then we're all screwed. And
Yeah.
states can set up their own individual rules related to, you know, you can you would be required. They could make it so we're required to get a license to fly one of them little tiny micro drones.
Right. Right.
So,
Oh, Democrats would love that. That'd be
oh yeah,
another fee. Another,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
Ooh, yeah. Here in
and
Colorado,
that's
they
what this is
love.
about. Yeah, that's what this is all about, anyways. Is the money.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. What about the money coming in from, I don't know, having a business like roof inspections, real estate, mapping?
well,
Uh,
that's
that
that's
brings in
that
revenue, and
that's good, but it can be done by other means. The guy can get out a damn ladder and go up and crawl up on the roof and look at it himself. It's
oh,
convenient. They what did they do? How did they do roof inspections before drones came along?
yeah,
I'm not
that's
saying that this is a good idea. I'm saying this is what we need to start paying attention to with
hmm
these rules and regulations.
right.
And when the government starts changing the way the game is played, which is what they've done to us for years now. They just keep moving
Right.
the damn goalpost.
Right.
And,
Right.
like I said, they're now considering letting states have some say in how
Mm-hmm.
they regulate the drone
How,
industry inside of a state.
how high you can fly, how far you can fly,
Yeah,
where you can fly. It's already you can't fly in state parks. Well, certain state parks you can have
you can
permission to fly.
you can fly. It depends on the state. Some states they don't care whether you fly in a state park or not,
Right.
but it's when it's either a Corps or US, if it's a federal park, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
run by the Corps of Engineers or the Army Corps of Engineers or
Right.
the U.S. Forest Service.
Forestry.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but those are federal parks, and that's different
Right.
than state parks. But
Mm-hmm.
each state has their own jurisdiction on whether you can fly inside one.
Right.
Just
Mm-hmm.
some state parks, you're not allowed to use a golf cart.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and they tried to go so far as to not be able to use scooters, and they kind of ran across the American with Disabilities Act
Oh,
situation there. But yeah, they
but
were trying to no electric vehicles whatsoever, other than a passenger vehicle, a car.
okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Uh,
anyways,
what else about Musk? Oh, yeah, she was going on and on about how Musk is violating these laws. You know, he's entering buildings. He's what is that? Trespassing and all that. And it's like,
yeah.
no, 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 he's not doing any of those. And this guy, you know, he'll listen to her for a minute and he'll explain, no, that's not it at all, and this and that. And he's on Facebook. I see his little 2-minute blurbs in the reels that they have on
Oh yeah,
Facebook.
yeah,
I think his name is Clavin. I can't remember his first
yeah. I think
name.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately,
yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot
There,
of videos about plane crashes
here,
lately. I don't know
here,
why.
here's the thing about Musk,
Uh-huh,
and them worried about his security and all of that shit.
uh-huh.
He builds the damn rocket ships that we use to go to the moon or go to the International Space Station.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that we're going to be using to go to the moon.
Right.
At
Mm-hmm.
some point. And
Mm-hmm.
he's already sent off, he's working on sending them to Mars. Now,
Mm-hmm.
and plus he's launching satellites every day,
Yep.
for global communications.
Mm-hmm.
What in the hell? How much more security clearance do you need than that? The guy's got, he's got so much security clearance that, but these idiots don't think about that. He's
Yeah.
already been vetted in his background. He wouldn't be able to launch up an Estes rocket if his security clearance was bad,
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
It's true.
And yet he's sending him to space, and I don't know
Oh,
how. So I don't see the problem. But hey, Charles, yay!
yeah.
Hello.
Never. How you doing?
Hello.
Your problem rectified, fixed,
Uh,
solved.
we're 99.999999999% there. We have flowing water restored. We're just
Oh,
Oh
trying to,
wow!
yeah, my brother and my cousin just finished up downstairs. They've left for the day. They're going to be back tomorrow for a few little bits and pieces that need to be done.
oh,
Some other minor repair work, and my cousin has to pick up his excavator and fill in the massive trench behind her house. But we
well,
finally have
that's
water.
great. That's
That's
Yes.
wonderful. That you got
outstanding.
flowing water. You
Outstanding.
can actually take a real shower for a change.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's going to be
Yeah.
nice.
that's great. Glad to hear that. Good,
Yeah.
good.
Thank you. Me too.
What
Mhm.
ended up being the problem?
We don't know. My brother was here yesterday. Because what they did is they dug like 2/3 of the trench out a couple of weeks ago, but they couldn't get all the way to the house because what was happening is they dug a trench about 6 or 7 feet deep, about 30 feet
Right.
long, and then all of a sudden water just started coming right out of the sides of the trench. And all of a sudden, in a very short period of time, they had like 6 inches of water. So they had to stop and let it dry out. They came here the day before yesterday and finished digging the trench. But again, there was a bunch of water in there still, even though it looked dry to all intents and purposes.
Right.
So my brother came yesterday and he put in a new set of pipes going from the current pump to the well casing. And we were still having the same problem. The pump wouldn't prime no matter what. So they decided to scrap everything and put a submersible in, and that's what they did today. They spent the day putting a submersible pump down in the well, and that restored our water flow. So we really have no idea what the real problem was.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
glad to
I'm
hear
glad.
that finally got flowing water. That's always good. Yeah.
Yep. We've done some experimental stuff, getting, just turning on the faucets and letting the dirty water run out. And, it doesn't take very long. So
great.
We're doing, it's weird though, because it used to be because the pump was right in the cellar. So we turn the water on and you'd be doing something and you'd hear it kick in, and the lights would dim for a second. Now, nothing. So you just have to assume it's working okay until.
Do you have an inside holding? Do you have an inside pressure tank that it?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Okay, so it flows into that and fills that up.
Yep.
Good.
Awesome.
You don't have problems with sediment and minerals and shit like that?
Well, we've always had hard water, but it's never been like a problem. I actually kind of enjoy the taste of water with some minerals in it. I don't like. I've drunk, perfect, pure distilled water, and it's kind of like,
yeah, it's bland tasting. Yeah. Well, my girlfriend, her problem is because her well is not deep enough, and the water coming up is kind of a yellowish brown, and it's like, it really needs to be filtered. And if I was there and I had all the time in the world and the money, I would be building a filtration system that would filter the water coming out of the ground, and building a collection system because it rains a lot there. If you could store some of that water and use that, and then have some kind of distiller that not only takes the crap out of it, but kills whatever bacteria that's in there.
Yeah, a whole house filter.
Huh?
A whole house filter.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like James has a house filter. He's got one of those 3-stage filters where it really knocks out, because in the Philippines, even if you're in a hotel, you never drink the water out of the tap.
Same way with Mexico. Yeah.
And I always drank bottled water. That is it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we did too.
That, juice, and whatever soda I could find. So so that's a problem there, and I'd figure out a way, use whatever materials that are available, and figure a way to build a filtration system. If I had like those 25-gallon plastic barrels, at the bottom, put some cotton down there, and then put some charcoal, put sand, and then gravel and some rocks on that, and let that water just percolate down through
Yeah,
there.
put some fish in there. That makes a
Yeah.
natural
Well,
filtration. Yeah,
the
that fish
fish
shit will.
the fish will take care of whatever mosquitoes might lay eggs in there.
Right, right, yeah, and that fish shit will make a natural.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Well, and plus that
I
they'll
mean, I personally wouldn't try it, but it's just that's why they
uh
tell you when you're setting up your damn filters for your aquariums.
yeah.
Oh, that fish poop down there at the bottom, that's going to make a great filtration system. Like,
Well, and that's high in protein, which is good for if you use that water for your garden.
ah,
You
there you
know,
go. Yeah,
that's got natural phosphates and
yeah,
fertilizer
it does.
in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. hmm that's another thing I
Oh,
would.
and welcome, Don. We didn't welcome you when you came in.
Ah, hey, oh, Don's here. I gotta
Yeah,
switch back. Yeah.
yep. Mudball Don's here. Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I'm
well,
glad for you. That's
yeah,
that is
Thank you.
yeah.
outstanding news.
Congratulations, and yeah, good. So yeah, we're winding down here. So we pretty much covered a lot, and we gone off on other tangents. We're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about Cardinals. Who's it gonna be? Hmm. Is it going to be the liberal from the Philippines, or is it going to be the conservative from Africa, or is it going to be somebody from Hungary? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're
The guy.
hungry for popes. Yeah, I mean, will they have a Jollibee in the Vatican?
I don't
So
know. I think I really think that they're wanting to get back to. They would like to get back to the values of John Paul II.
right. Hmm.
You know, I was watching Coast to Coast Drones last night, and they were trying to think of the different popes, and he said, "Seemed like we were going through popes like crazy." Well, no, not really. The only one that was in our lifetime that was fast was John Paul I. He was, we lost Pope Paul VI. Then in '75 they elected uh, John Paul I because he named him. He took the names of Pope John that was before Pope Paul, the sixth.
Ah,
And so he took both their names because they were very influential. And
mm,
he died in 30 days. So
right.
uh,
Mhm.
the cardinal from London, who are from London,
London.
Poland,
Poland.
from Poland,
Yeah.
uh, uh,
Carol.
yeah, he was, he took on the name in recognition,
John
in
Paul is the
respect
second.
of John Paul the First, John Pope Paul the Sixth, and John, I don't know, the 23rd or whatever he was. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it was. But yeah, and then John
He
Paul the
lasted
Second,
for quite a while.
huh?
He
Yeah, about
lasted for a long
26 years. I think he was
time.
at it 26 years, and really, since he's been gone, you've had Benedict and Francis. Benedict was added about 8 years, I think, and Francis was about, I think, was 13 years. What they said.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
two of them weren't pontiffs as long as John Paul II was. So I think and he did a lot of good. He fought against communism behind the
Right.
scenes, and
Mm.
he tried to navigate the church through some really bad times.
Yeah.
And uh, unfortunately, he couldn't finish a lot of what he was trying to do, and that was clear up a lot of that and
Right.
get rid of a lot of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
And he died before. Well, he got too decrepit and then died. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when he brought in Cardinal Ratzinger, which is Benedict the
Mm-hmm.
16th, I think.
Right.
And uh, and so and Benedict just didn't have the stamina to do what needed to be done.
Right.
He was very much like John Paul II. He was actually a little more conservative than John Paul II
Right.
was.
Hmm.
I think they're looking for somebody along the JP2 line, you know,
Right. And
and
he actually brought a lot of new people into the faith, and that was one of his strongest points.
do what?
Because a lot, John
Oh
Paul
yeah,
II, where
yeah.
Francis, I think a lot of people left the party
A
because,
lot of people left because of Francis,
yeah,
and I've never, you know, even though I converted to Catholicism ever since John Paul II died. I wasn't a fan of Ratzinger's Benedict
uh-huh,
because some of his policies were a little too hardcore.
right,
And but when he became Benedict, I saw a difference in him, and I actually, as a pope, I actually was very supportive of him. But then
hmm,
Francis came along, and that was it for me. I'd had enough. I didn't feel that he was guiding the church. When I say the church, I mean the Catholic Church.
right. Well,
Uh,
and you know what his favorite fishing gear was?
oh,
Pope Pio pocket fisherman.
Pope
Oh,
Peel, yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
little tin heron rubbed off on me. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. John Procut, yeah, I felt the same way. Hashtag not my Pope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And a
think.
lot of people did. My cousins, same way. This, you know, there's a lot of them that just didn't feel that Francis. To
Mm-hmm.
me, one, he was an interloper. Uh, I don't think I think they should have let Benedict stay, guided him, you know,
Mm-hmm.
taken some of the weight off of his. But see, Francis had actually was going to run against Benedict, but because he had so much support from John Paul II, Francis, Benedict did, or Cardinal Ratzinger, he did not want to schism the church, and in essence, he still did it. When
Uh-huh.
Benedict, for whatever reason, Benedict stepped down, and then they chose the second
Mm-hmm.
runner-up, which was Francis. Uh, you know, because when the first vote was cast, it was kind of split, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when Francis stepped away from it. That was under Benedict, you know, or
Yeah.
during the election of Benedict,
Right.
and so,
Mm-hmm.
anyways. But yeah, so I think this new pope is going to, whoever he is, he's going to have to be a strong. He's going to have
Right.
some. He's going to have to be a good evangelist for the church, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or a good apologist for the church, as they call them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to have conservative values that are in line with, Vatican II and the values that were in that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see.
Welcome to our three conservative gimps and the Pope Hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please tell your friends and let's build this channel. We got a good core right now. Let's
Yeah.
build on that. Let's spread the word. Say, hey, I know these three guys are pretty good. They're conservative. They're not mushy, but they're reasonable. They're good conservatives. So come on over and watch them and be a member, or at least watch, build the channel up,
Right.
and
Who
get
knows? You
this.
might even see a Chihuahua on the show once in a
Yeah, you
while.
might see a Chihuahua on Yo Quiero Taco Bell. Anyway, take care. Don't forget my show, my drone show tomorrow night. We might even talk about the Avada 3. Is there an Avada 3 in your future? Won't know until you watch the show tomorrow night. Take care,
Have a
everybody.
great
Hope you
weekend,
show on
everyone.
Thursday.
good night,
Saturday.
folks.
Good night, folks.